Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 209. Yuan and Manman become destitute. 1. It was not just a casual talk when Qin Mian said that they would invite the villagers to dine. After all, he had left Green Mountain Village for so long. In the eyes of the villagers, his family was truly flourishing. It would not make sense not to invite them for a banquet. Qin Mian passed on the orders in an orderly way. His servants went to buy ingredients, prepare tables and chairs, hire chefs. When all the arrangements were made, the banquet was set up on the grain-sunning ground. After chatting with the villagers, drinking and dining for lunch and dinner at the banquet, Qin Mian's family returned to be on friendly terms with the villagers. Qin Ruqi and Lei Rulan quickly adapted to going back to school. In the evening, when the family were having dinner, Jinying suddenly darted inside like a golden arrow. Because its action was too sudden, 2 of its downy fell directly onto Qin Mian's face. "What's the matter, Jinying?" Jinying looked at him and made an anxious cry. It flew out less than half a zhang away before coming back. It seemed to be urging Qin Mian to go with it. With a tense look, Qin Mian suddenly stood up and rushed out. Something must have happened to Dian Bai and Jin Simo P. "Tai, let's go and have a look." "Wife, don't panic." Lei Tie caught up with him, held his hand tightly and was ready to fly away. Qin Ruqi and Lei Rulan didn't slow down and ran after each other. "Dai, Lao Dai, Didi and myself want to go and see Dian Bai and Jin Simo P. too." Without a word, Qin Mian and Lei Tie grabbed each of the boys. The family of 4 followed Jinying and flew to the back of the mountain speedily. After a few breaths, they flew over the mountain forest before Jinying went to land. Dian Bai rolled in agony on the ground. Silver spiritual qi flashed on its body like lightning. Its black fur was wet and bloody, dyeing the withered grass on the ground with light red. Jin Simo P stood at the side with its eyes fixed on Dian Bai, where it growled from time to time. "Dian Bai!" Qin Mian put down his son and quickly ran over with panic in his voice. Dian Bai meant a lot to him that he couldn't imagine the possibility of losing Dian Bai. Lei Tie hurriedly went over and pressed his shoulder while calmly speaking, "Wife, don't worry. Dian Bai should be going to ascend." "Ascend?" Qin Mian calmed down. It was no wonder that he was flustered. Dian Bai was a beast, so its way of cultivation was different from that of human beings. For a moment, he honestly didn't think of that. "Let's inject qi into it to help it," said Lei Tie as he turned his palms. Abundant qi gushed out from his palms, which slowly and steadily entered Dian Bai's body. Qin Mian followed suit. Qin Ruqi and Lei Rulan quickly ran over and squatted beside Dian Bai in worry. "Dai, will Dian Bai be fine, right?" Qin Mian firmly said, "Yes, you're Lao Dai and I won't let anything happen to it." Dian Bai gave out a whimper full of gratitude as its gentle eyes glided over the 4 masters one by one. It did not dare to be distracted for too long and immediately withdrew its attention and focused on ascending. More and more spiritual qi gathered in the surrounding area, frantically rushing into Dian Bai's body. All of a sudden, Dian Bai jumped up from the ground, looked up to the sky, and let out a long cry, "Awoo!" As if the spiritual qi seemed to be stimulated, it rolled and turned. All of a sudden, Dian Bai let out a painful wolf roar again. The pressure as heavy as Mount Tai came out of the void. It seemed as if a giant hand suddenly tore the whole space. Before Qin Mian, Lei Tie, Qin Ruqi, and Lei Rulan could react, they were overturned by a powerful force and thrown into the air. "Wife!" Lei Tie quickly caught his wife, who was the nearest to him. Qin Ruqi reacted quickly and caught his Didi's wrist. "Ruqi, Rulan!" Qin Mian watched Qin Rulan and Lei Rulan flew to the other direction. He was shocked and wanted to fly over to catch them. However, it was as if he was trapped in quicksand. The pressure from all sides kept him in place without mercy. Lei Tie couldn't move either. As he watched his 2 sons getting farther and farther away from him and Qi Mian, his expression radically changed. In the blink of an eye, Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan disappeared, leaving only two panicked shouts in the air, "Ah-dai Loa-dai!" At the same time, Qin Mian and Lei Tie were also thrown out by the invisible big hand. Before they fainted, they only saw a black and a gold lightning following Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan. Ruki, Rulan. Qin Mian suddenly opened his eyes and broke into a cold sweat. Wife, awake! Qin Mian noticed that he was on Lei Tie's back and asked, "The boys?" Lei Tie's big palm patted his thigh. "Don't be afraid, I can sense that they are all right. However, the spiritual qi here is too thin to determine their specific locations." Qin Mian carefully sensed it. As expected, he was able to vaguely catch the spiritual qi of Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan. He breathed a sigh of relief. He looked up and stared with his mouth agape. Were the high-rise buildings in the distance and the bullet train on the track his illusion? "Wife, is this the world you used to live in?" Lei Tie had heard Qin Mian talk about the living environment in his previous life, so he asked. Qin Mian foolishly opened his mouth as he squeezed Lei Tie's arm hard. "Does it hurt?" Lei Tie shook his head in connivance. "It's not a dream." Jinying flew to Qin Mian and looked at him with concern. Qin Mian was taken aback. Jinying also came. Lei Tie nodded. "If my guess is correct, Dian Bai and Jin Simo P are with our sons." With Dian Bai and Jin Simo P there, the safety of their two sons was more guaranteed. Qin Mian released a long exhale and then thought of jumping off Lei Tie's back. "If there is no mistake, this is the world I used to live in. Let me think on how we can find our son." Lei Tie could see that Qin Mian was impatient. He held Qin Mian's face and printed a kiss on his lips. "You are most familiar with this place. We'll depend on you to find our sons, don't be anxious. Besides, our sons are very smart and they can take care of themselves." Qin Mian's anxious heart immediately settled down and nodded. "I ain't anxious. Follow me." Seeing that the child was about to fall to the ground, Dian Bai narrowed its eyes as its dark shadow flashed over speedily. Before he fell to the ground, it put itself under him accurately. Qin Ruki didn't feel it. He lay on Dian Bai's back and didn't wake up. Dian Bai lay quietly on the ground, afraid to wake up the child. It didn't move. It only moved its head once in a while, looking around with alert eyes, and finally watched the light of dawn in boredom. When a gust of wind blew, its shiny black hair lifted up like black gold. It was unknown how long it had been when the child on its back finally moved. As soon as he raised his head and saw the environment with clear eyes, he was momentarily confused. "Yuan." A young voice sounded out of thin air. "Who?" Qin Ruki sprang to his feet and looked around warily. Dian Bai stood up and looked at him in a placating manner. Yuan, it's me." "Dian Bai." Qin Ruki stared at it in suspicion. Dian Bai nodded. "I can speak because of the ascension." Qin Ruki was stunned for a while and then calmly nodded. There were many strange things in his family, so he was only surprised for a moment before accepting the fact that Dian Bai could now speak human language. "Do you know where Adai, Lao Dai, and Didi are?" Dian Bai explained. "Don't worry, they are all in this world like us. This is where your Adai previously lived. He'll find us." When Qin Ruki heard those words, the panic in his heart suddenly dissipated. In his heart, his Adai and Lao Dai were omnipotent. He thought that Dian Bai was talking about the time before he and Lei Rulan were born. He didn't think much about it. He rubbed his empty stomach and the bracelet on his wrist. This bracelet was refined by Lei Tie after he became proficient in weapon refining. It integrated the triple functions of poison detection, defense, and storage. The storage space was not large, about 8 cubic meters, but it was enough to serve like a backpack. Unfortunately, there were only some pills, a spiritual double-edged sword, a money box, toys, and a few books inside. Usually, he and Lei Rulan had what they wanted to eat at home, so they never thought to put some food in the storage bracelet. There were a lot of gold, silver, and banknotes, but these were not suitable for use in this strange world. Dianbai lifted its left forepaw and also made the move of rubbing its stomach. It said, "I'm hungry, too." Chinruki very quickly assessed their current situation. Before his Adai found them, he just needed to make sure that he and Dianbai were safe. After pondering for a short while, he walked forward. Dianbai hastily followed. Where to? At this time, they were in a quiet alley. There was no one around but them. Chinruki stroked its back and said, "Fill our stomach first." Dianbai reminded, "The currency here is not the same." Chinruki said, "Make money first." "How?" Dianbai asked. Chinruki reached the end of the alley. After a long silence, he thought of the acrobatics show he had seen in the street before and spat out 2 words, "Performing arts." Dianbai's eyebrows were raised and there seemed to be 3 black lines hanging in it. Walking out of the remote alley, Chinruki saw cars whistling by. After a few seconds, he regained his expressionless appearance. He knew those were cars as it is mentioned in the story that his Adai told him and his Didi. In the morning, H City gradually woke up. There were more and more people on the street. Housewives were going to the supermarket to shop, urban white-collar workers were hurrying, students were carrying school bags, all came and went in a hurry. On the square, 20 to 30 old men and women were exercising taiki in leisure. Chinruki thought for a bit before going to the square. Dianbai closely followed him and carefully walked on the outside to prevent the traffic on the road from accidentally hitting Chinruki. When passers-by passed by Chinruki, they involuntarily looked at the little boy in ancient clothes curiously. Some people even secretly took photos with their mobile phones. End chapter. Minwei Chinan. Chapter 210. Yuan and Manman become destitute, 2. Ya, whose child is this? Looks like a little young master from an influential family in ancient times. His wooden face is so adorable. Yes, it's cute. Asterisk. Chinruki, as if unaware of it all, came to the square and stood at the front of the group. After thinking about it, he first practiced a set of meteor fists taught by his Lao Dai. At the beginning, the old men and old women in the square saw him standing there gesticulating with hands and feet and treated it as a child horsing around. After watching for a while, they found that every gesture and motion of his fists were smooth and powerful. Evidently, it was not a mere form. They could not help but look straight and their movements slowed down as they earnestly watched. After Chinruki completed the set of boxing, he politely bowed to the crowd with his hand cupped in the other. Ruki accidentally separated from his family. If grandpas and grandmas think that this set of boxing is good, please praise it with tips for those who have money, and personal tips for those who have no money. Thank you very much. Most people were suspicious of his statement. But if the child was trying to cheat money, it didn't feel like it. He had a good temperament and didn't look like an ordinary child. There was a doubt in Chinruki's eyes. Could it be that the set of boxing just now wasn't well performed? At this time, a young man in his 30s who was dressed in sportswear, came briskly with a ruffian smile and sweat on his face. He threw the towel in his hand and joked, "Little guy, your skill seems uncommon. Why don't we compare? If you win, I'll give you money tips. How about that?" An old lady recognized that this man was Wang Kun, a veteran army who often ran in the morning nearby and now worked as the head of security of a company. She laughed as she joked, "You have the nerve to bully a child." Chinruki nodded with a serious face, "All right, please." Wang Kun didn't think that the child came here to cheat money. He just thought that this little guy looked like he was only 7 or 8 years old and that his wooden face was very interesting. That's why, he teased him. He immediately nodded with a faint smile, "Come." All the old men and old women thought it was very funny and heckled with the sound of laughter. Wang Kun looked at the height of the child, which was less than his waist, and said with a smile, "You move first." Qin Ruki saw the other party's contempt and didn't mind it. With a slight nod, he took the lead in attacking the other party's abdomen. Wang Kun laughed merrily as he casually dodged to the side. Unexpectedly, the child suddenly changed his move. He didn't see the opponent's movement at all, so his wrist was clamped down. The opponent's hand was too small to hold his whole wrist, but the strength was not small at all. He said in his heart that it was not good. The next second, a force suddenly pulled him forward. Before he had time to react, there was a flash of light and then his buttock hurt. To his surprise, he was made to fall on the ground by the child with a move similar to a shoulder throw. Wang Kun was shocked to see a calm-looking child. He couldn't believe that he was thrown by a child. Qin Ruki released his hand and then cupped his hands as he said, "You let me win." The crowd was in an uproar, so odd that no one could speak. "Wang Kun, you did it on purpose." An old man looked suspicious. Wang Kun put away the expression on his face and got up from the ground. He laughed hollowly as he patted the little guy's small shoulder, "Uncle won't fight with you." Then he took his wallet out of his pocket, took out a 50 bill and handed it to the child, "Treat yourself to breakfast." He had been in the army for nearly 10 years. He couldn't claim to have won every sparring match, but his skill should be enough not to be thrown down by a 7 or 8-year-old child. He was sure that the child had a strange martial arts ability. He just laughed to protect the child. Since the child had no relation to him, he couldn't do much. He waved his hand to the child and jogged away. None of the old men and old women thought that Wang Kun was really thrown by a child. They only thought that he was pretending to be defeated in order to help the child who was separated from his family. Qin Ruki recognized the 50 on the bill, but he didn't know how much silver this 50 was equivalent to in his original world. Hence, his conclusion was, more money, the better. "Dian Bai, you do it too." Dian Bai was indeed the dog that Qin Mian had seen in his previous life. It had been in this world for a period of time before and knew that its enormous real form could easily cause panic. At this time, it was only the size of an adult dog. It first stood upright and then did a handstand. After it did a tap dance, it straightened up and bowed toward the crowd with its 2 forelegs folded in front of its chest. The old men and old women were immediately amused. They all generously tipped, some tipped 5 and some 10. An old lady kindly said, "Little guy, do you want grandma to take you to the police station and ask the police uncle to help you find your family?" Qin Ruki knew that the police station was the same place as the government office, but he thought that it was better not to run around and wait for the 2 fathers to find him. After refusing, he said his thanks and left with a pile of change. His reaction had made many people think that he was instigated to play tricks. Seeing that he would soon go far away, they could only let go of the matter. Qin Ruki counted the money he earned, which was 205 in total. He successfully bought 2 char siu buns at a breakfast shop. After a lot of effort, he found a roast duck shop and bought 2 roast ducks for Dian Bai. Wolves shouldn't eat cooked food, but Dian Bai was also a cultivator, so it was all right for it to eat cooked food. "It's a bit expensive though," Qin Ruki thought silently. He looked behind him very casually. A man sneakily stalked him from the square. Seeing that he was found out, the middle-aged man hesitated for 2 seconds before he put on a smile, walked over quickly and kindly asked, "Little friend, why are you alone? Where are your parents?" "Awoo." Dian Bai threateningly looked at him and bared its teeth. The man was frightened but gave Qin Ruki a gentle smile. "Little friend, uncle bears no malice. Uncle saw you have no money to eat, so uncle wants to help you." Dian Bai reminded Qin Ruki in a low voice, "Don't believe him. He must be a human trafficker." Qin Ruki pressed down Dian Bai's head and motioned it to squat down. He looked at the man with an ignorant look, "Really?" The middle-aged man was overjoyed and beckoned, "Come with me. I'll take you to eat a sumptuous meal." Qin Ruki nodded and walked over. Suddenly, he grabbed the man's right arm with both hands, pushed his feet on the man's back and climbed up. Then, he pressed down and easily pushed the man to the ground. At the same time, he locked the man's other arm. With two cracking sounds, the man's arms dislocated from his shoulder blades. The man screamed and blood oozed out of his chin. Because his arms couldn't move, he couldn't get up on the ground and cut out a sorry figure. He stared at Chinruki resentfully. "Bad boy, you." Chinruki took out a gel pen and a small notebook from his sleeve pocket. He left a note of human trafficker on the man's back, beckoned to Diane by and quickly left. Passers-by saw the note on the man's back and called the police. The police station nearby quickly sent someone over and took the man back to check. It turned out that he was indeed a human trafficker. Today, he just came from other places, wanting to avoid the limelight, but didn't expect that he went to the road of ruin. ******. Meanwhile, in the neighboring city, LIAN and Jin Simo-P heaved a big sigh in the same manner. Kruk kruk, the sound came out from inside the belly. LIAN helplessly scratched his head. "I'm so hungry." The contents of his storage bracelet were almost the same as in Chinrulan's. There were 2 juicy peaches. He and Jin Simo-P ate one each, but it didn't curb their hunger at all. He knew that food could only be obtained in places with many people, but the problem was that Jin Simo-P was too big. In the original world, many people were afraid of Jin Simo-P, and now it's the same in this strange world. If he left Jin Simo-P here alone, he would not be at ease. "Jin Simo-P, if only you could get smaller, that'd be great." "Woo." Jin Simo-P tilted its head and looked at him. A streak of golden light flashed. LIAN rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Jin Simo-P actually became smaller. It used to be about 1000 Jin, but now it was only about 100 Jin at most. Although it was still a little big, it was much smaller than its real form. "Haha, that's great. Let's go. Let's find something to eat." LIAN thought for a moment before he took out a leash from the storage bracelet and tied it to Jin Simo-P's neck. A human child and a bear left the woods together and walked along the road. A royal blue SUV whistled past and then suddenly went backward. It stopped beside LIAN. When the car window was pressed down, a young man with blonde hair poked his head out and looked at Jin Simo-P with wide eyes. "Damn! Isn't this a bear?" LIAN glanced at him and went on. "The golden fur all over its body is so beautiful. It's like a golden wave when the wind blows it." Another young man pushed past and made that exclamation. "Say, have you prepared a gift for young Master Liu's birthday next month?" The young man with blonde hair stared at Jin Simo-P and asked pointedly. A young man in the driver's seat had a look of comprehension on his face. He pointed his chin toward Jin Simo-P. "Yunzao, do you want to?" The blonde-haired young man nodded. It was unknown what he was thinking as he looked complacent. LIAN became alert when he heard the approaching footsteps. Luo Yunzao and the other 2 blocked the child's exit and stood a little far in case the brown bear attacked them. "Kid, where are your family's adults?" LIAN asked with a smile. "What noble business does Big Brother have?" Luo Yunzao said, "Take me to your parents. As long as your family's adults are willing to sell me this bear, I can give them a lot of money, enough to buy a lot of things. Do you understand?" Light flashed past LIAN's eyes. "Not selling." Luo Yunzao frowned, a little impatient. "You're an underaged kid and can't decide on this. Take me to your family's adults at once. Jin Simo-P is a member of our family. It's not for sale." LIAN didn't want to talk more nonsense with him and planned to bypass them to leave. "Wait." Luo Yunzao reached for him. LIAN's figure flashed and started to run at once. "Jin Simo-P, run." End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 211. Yuan and Manman become destitute. 3. "Get in the car and chase," cried Lu Yunzao. Lei Rulan frowned. The car must run faster than him. To get rid of them, there was only one way. He turned and ran back. Before Lu Yunzao and the two men got in the car, he quickly stunned them, and then made a face at them before quickly slipping away with Jin Simo P. Lu Yunzao couldn't move, his eyes widened. Damn it! Why can't I move? Me, too. Zhang Zixuan also exclaimed, shit! Are we being hit at a certain acute point? Zhang Ting's mouth opened wide, frick! No way, how long will it take? Lu Yunzao first responded, hey, kid, hey! Let us go, quickly! From the distance came the child's prepubescence voice of gloat, hee hee! Rest assured, you can move in a period of 12 shishan. Zhang Zixuan asked gloomily, how long are 12 shishan? Lu Yunzao said with uncertainty, 12 hours. It's 24 hours. Lu Yunzao glanced at the scorching sun above his head and said, so we'll be basking here for one full day. The other two had a bitter face, looking at the curious passers-by, not interested in answering his question. Lu Yunzao said to a young man of his age, hey brother, we can't move here. Could you please take out the mobile phone in my pocket and make a call for me? The young man glanced at the three people and didn't believe what he said. Are you recording a prank show, trying to capture the different reactions of passers-by? You're overthinking things. Lu Yunzao said helplessly, we really can't move. We've been hit on a certain acute point, please do me a favor. Hit on a certain acute point? A girl laughed in disbelief, are you kidding? What era is it now? Are you thinking of shooting a period drama? Zhang Zixuan was a little weak, pretty lady, just take it as we're doing a prank. Do us a favor. Nowadays, there were so many swindlers in this society. If one got caught into a trap, it would be bad. The girl hesitated for a moment before she turned and left. Lu Yunzao left his hope on the young man. The young man paused for a moment and turned to leave. I remember that I have things to do. Lu Yunzao. ******. Lei Rulan, who had run far away, couldn't help laughing when he remembered the strange postures of the three people. At the same time, he also realized that Jin Simo P was still too eye-catching even after getting smaller. Jin Simo P, can you be smaller still? In fact, this was the result of Qin Mian and Lei Tie being too cautious. Because they were worried that the two children's use of spiritual cultivation in front of outsiders would arouse suspicion, they only taught the two children how to refine spiritual qi into vital energy force and did not teach them to use various spiritual spells. Otherwise, Lei Rulan only needed a spiritual spell to disguise Jin Simo P as something else. Jin Simo P shook its head, stood up straight and made a movement with its forelegs. Lei Rulan asked, you mean, you need spiritual qi or else you can't do it? Jin Simo P nodded. Lei Rulan had gotten an idea. He brought Jin Simo P to a remote place and took off the jade pendant on his neck. This was the spiritual weapon that Lao Dai made for him. It was compressed with spiritual qi, for his convenience to cultivate at any time. Jin Simo P kept the jade pendant in its mouth. After a while, its body shrunk again to the size of an adult cat. Jin Simo P, you're awesome. Lei Rulan praised it with satisfaction. He put on the jade pendant again and picked it up with a smile. Lei Rulan didn't know that there were electronic eyes almost everywhere in this world. Fortunately, there were no electronic eyes around here. Lei Rulan walked forward quickly with golden fur in his arms. Following the fragrant aroma, he came to a KFC restaurant. Smelling the attractive aroma, he secretly swallowed. He looked around and his eyes fell on a woman about 50 years old. The woman's face was soft and her eyes were kind. She was gently saying something to a little boy beside her. Lei Rulan straightened his shirt and walked over with Jin Simo P in his arms. Grandma. The woman was slightly stunned, and then gently asked, what is it? Lei Rulan grinned with a shy blush, Grandma, I'm hungry but I don't have money. If I do you a favor, can you please treat me to this? Wang Lan especially brought her grandson to KFC today. She didn't expect to meet such an interesting little boy. She looked at him up and down, glanced at his jade jewelry, and said with a smile, "Little guy, you look really good. Okay, first of all, what can you do for me?" The boy beside her and the people in the nearby seats looked at him curiously. Lei Rulan showed a trace of pride on his face. After staring at Wang Lan's face for a moment, he asked, "Does grandma's body feel discomfort anywhere?" Wang Lan was taken aback. "You can tell from my complexion." Lei Rulan was very smart. From his first appearance in this world to now, he had not found any energy in a human body, so he was very cautious. It was not good to say that he could even tell from the sound of her breath and heartbeat. He just said, "Yes. Grandma, can I check your pulse?" Wang Lan merely played along with him, so she mindlessly nodded and extended her hand. Lei Rulan put his fingers on her pulse for a moment and then released her hand. "Does grandma often have chest tightness, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, and cough? Especially at night and early in the morning?" Wang Lan was surprised and immediately became suspicious. She couldn't believe that a 7 or 8-year-old child could really have such excellent medical skills. She immediately thought that it might be the adults in the child's family who knew her. Therefore, the child had heard of her situation from the adults and played with her intentionally. It was even possible that the adults behind the child had investigated her. Before she could speak, the little boy beside her nodded, "Yes, yes. Gerger is so amazing." Lei Rulan saw that the woman was suspicious. He felt somewhat helpless but didn't show it on his face. "I really can tell from the pulse." At the side, a young man with a fair complexion looked at Wang Lan's expression and asked curiously, "Is this child really got it right?" Wang Lan nodded, but her doubts did not go away. The young man looked at Lei Rulan for a moment, his heart jolted. He reached out his hand and said with a smile, "Little brother, check my pulse, too? If you're right, I'll treat you and your pet to KFC until you're full." Lei Rulan nodded, felt his pulse and said confidently, "You have a palpitation illness. When the illness occurs, you get palpitations, difficulty breathing, chest pain, and even cough up blood. This palpitation was equivalent to a heart disease in modern times." The young man was surprised and pleased. "You're right. You, little imp, can truly tell." Several customers nearby could not help suspecting that the young man was a decoy and glanced at him contemptuously. But the young man didn't pay them any attention. He asked Lei Rulan, "I have a congenital heart disease. Is there a way to cure it?" Lei Rulan thought, "My dad can cure illness but I haven't mastered medicinal skill yet." "Really?" asked the young man excitedly. Lei Rulan was somewhat helpless. "Why should I lie to you?" The young man immediately asked, "Where is your dad now?" Lei Rulan crossed his arms in front of his chest and said, "You said that if I'm right, you'll treat Jin Simo P and me to eat KFC. I meant what I said. Let's go and see what you want to eat." The young man stood up and took his hand. Lei Rulan was even hungrier when he looked at the lifelike patterns on the publicity pictures. Mian had taught him simplified Chinese, so the words on it didn't overwhelm him. He said unceremoniously, "I want each of the things in the pictures." As he spoke, he noticed the young man's face. The young man didn't change his expression and paid for what he ordered. Lei Rulan saw someone washing hands at the hand-washing table in the corner. "I'll go wash my hands first." He didn't understand how an automatic faucet works. When he saw other people put their hands under the faucet and then the water came out, he was surprised but looked calm on the surface. Back to the previous seat, the young man was already sitting there with Lei Rulan's spicy chicken wings, hamburgers, French fries, and so on, all on 2 plates. To Lei Rulan's surprise, Wang Lan was still there. "Thank you." After thanking the young man, Lei Rulan picked up the chicken drumstick and ate it. He planned to feed Jin Simo P after going out so as not to stain the floor. The young man said with a smile, "You're welcome. My name is Lin Feng. May I ask where your dad is now?" Lei Rulan's answer was very straightforward this time, "My dad and I got separated, that's why I don't have money to buy food." Lin Feng hesitated for a long time before he asked, "Can your dad really cure my illness?" Lei Rulan nodded, "Of course. Once, someone was poisoned by a strange poison. The most famous doctors in the world couldn't detoxify it, but it was finally detoxified by my dad." Lin Feng said actively, "Do you know your dad's phone number? I'll lend you a phone so you can call him." Lei Rulan opened his mouth wide, "Don't have." Lin Feng did not give up, "Where do you live? I'll take you back." "My home," Lei Rulan silently sighed. Of course, his home was in Green Mountain Village, but there were many high-rise buildings everywhere. It was obvious that he was not in the same world as his home. Even if he told this person his address, this person couldn't send him back. Lin Feng only thought that the child was wary of him and asked tentatively, "Or else, I'll take you to the police station and let the police take you home." Lei Rulan repeatedly shook his head, "No need, thank you. My Adai and Lao Dai will certainly find me." Lin Feng had no choice but to ask directly, "If I want to ask your dad to treat me, how can I find him?" Lei Rulan knew that the best way was to let Lin Feng take him away. However, he didn't need to guess to know that Lin Feng would suspect that he cheated him for food and drink. He thought about it and said, "Dad said that a drop of kindness should be returned with a gushing spring. You've treated me and Jin Simo P to a meal, I'll repay you. When my Adai and Lao Dai find me, I'll leave a note at the counter with the detailed address or phone number. If you believe me, you can come and check it every day. Or else, you can tell me your phone number." End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 212. The family has no more secret. Lin Feng heard him speak in a well-organized and articulate manner, and felt that he was not a child of ordinary people. A little hope floated in his heart. He nodded, "Okay, I'll come to check it at any time. Also, this is my business card." Lei Rulan took the business card, put it into the sleeve pocket and continued to eat the chicken drumstick. After eating 2 pairs of chicken wings and 2 hamburgers, Lei Rulan was full. He thanked Lin Feng again, asked the staff in the restaurant to pack the rest of the food, and carried the package. "Jin Simo P, let's go." After leaving the restaurant, Lei Rulan took out a chicken roll from the package and fed it to Jin Simo P. Jin Simo P's dietary habit had already changed unknowingly, it ate the chicken roll with relish. It had gotten smaller, so its belly also had gotten smaller. It shook its head after eating another crispy chicken burger. Lei Rulan walked forward with it, unhurried. Wang Lan came out of the restaurant and stared at his back for a while. She shook her head with a somewhat ridiculing look. Did she really believe that someone can cure asthma? She took her grandson's hand and went in the opposite direction. Seeing many children playing in the park, Lei Rulan walked over with interest. Chen Yu was a film director. As of late, he was going to shoot a big movie. One of the characters was an 8-year-old child. Although it was not the main character, it played a crucial role in the movie. For this reason, Chen Yu held a special audition. However, he was not satisfied with all the auditioners. For Chen Yu, who pursued perfection, except for a corpse, any role in the film, including the extras who only needed to walk with their backs to the camera once, couldn't just work with just anyone. The reason why Chen Yu appeared in the park was to see if he could find the right person. He seized the swing in the park, sat on it and turned a blind eye to the reproach from several adults who brought their children to play in the park. Right there, he saw a 7 or 8-year-old child swinging around with the gymnastic rings. Effortlessly and smoothly, he turned upside down and flipped over in 2 rounds on the rings. His grin was full of dexterity. Next to him, there was a little golden animal jumping around happily. Chen Yu just felt a flash in front of his eyes before he jumped off the swing and said excitedly, "It's him. Lei Rulan was having a good time when he heard a man standing behind him calling, "Kid." He glanced back and fell to the ground silently, looking curiously at the middle-aged man in front of him. Chen Yu looked at the child's ancient costume and thought to himself, which production team did the kid just come from? "What's your name, little one?" Lei Rulan turned his back and said, "Shouldn't your excellency introduce yourself before asking others?" Chen Yu raised his eyebrows in amusement. "My name is Chen Yu. This junior is called Lei Rulan." Lei Rulan asked, "What advice does senior have?" His temperament made the light in Chen Yu's eyes more and more bright. "Little one, are you interested in shooting a film?" Although Qin Mian had talked about many things in this world, Lei Rulan didn't know what it was to shoot a film. He said perfunctorily, "You should talk to my Adai and Lao Dai about this." Adai and Lao Dai. There was a strange feeling in Chen Yu's heart, but he didn't think much about it. "Where are your Adai and Lao Dai?" Qin Mian and Lei Tie first caught their youngest son's spiritual sense and appeared invisible in the corner. Qin Mian looked around and made sure that there was no electronic eye around. Then he looked at Lei Tie, his mind moved. He kissed the scar on Lei Tie's face and put his right thumb on it. A soft white light flashed with it. Once he removed his thumb, the scar on Lei Tie's face disappeared. Qin Mian raised a touch of appreciation and pride in his eyes and gave him a thumbs up. "So handsome." Lei Tie's lips curved slightly before he bowed and printed them on Qin Mian's head. The two showed up together, wearing the same clothes as before, but used Il Laotian to mask them. In the eyes of outsiders, they were wearing normal casual clothes. Seeing his youngest son's back, Qin Mian called out in a raised voice, "Rulan." Jinying flapped its wings and flew to Lei Rulan. Lei Rulan turned his head in a pleasant surprise and rushed over like a small cannonball. "Adai! Lao Dai!" Chen Yu looked up, there was a strong appreciation seen in his eyes. The two young men standing not far away were both dragon and phoenix amongst the ordinary people. The man on the left was handsome with elegant demeanor while the man on the right was attractive with cold temperament. Tisk, no matter who these two people are, once they enter showbiz, they are bound to set off a storm in the entertainment industry. Qin Mian spread out his arms, hugged his little son and looked him up and down. "Son, did you get hurt?" No. Lei Rulan hugged him with a broad smile. "Are you scared for being separated from us for so long?" Qin Mian asked again. Lei Rulan shook his head without hesitation. "No, I know that Adai and Lao Dai will find me." "You're truly awesome." Qin Mian gave him a look of approval. Lei Rulan held his head high and looked proud. "Adai, where's my gurgur?" Lei Rulan was a little worried. "Gaig and I were together at first, but we got separated later. He's fine. We'll go to him now." Qin Mian rubbed his head. Chen Yu walked over. Lei Tie looked at him indifferently. Chen Yu had met all kinds of people, so he did not care and was very polite. "Hello. I'm Chen Yu, a film director. Rulan is very suitable for a role in my film. I wonder if we can sit down and have a chat." "I'm sorry, we have an urgent business to deal with." Qin Mian declined and took Lei Rulan by the hand to leave. Chen Yu quickly stopped him. "Wait. This is my calling card. I'm not a liar. I hope you can think about it seriously." Qin Mian thought about it and accepted the card. "We'll think about it. Goodbye." Chen Yu regretfully watched them go farther and farther away. He had an impulse to run after them but rationally restrained him and he turned to leave. Instead of taking any transportation, the 3 people and 1 bear flew directly to the neighboring city. Qin Ruki was sleeping on the bench with Dian Bai squatting at the side to guard him. Seeing this scene, Qin Mian was felt both distressed and relieved. Lei Tie quietly walked over and picked up his eldest son. Smelling the familiar scent, Qin Ruki immediately opened his eyes. When he saw the person holding him, he smiled and clasped the person's neck tightly. "Lao Dai. N. After LIAN confirmed that his eldest son was not injured, he nodded to his wife. Adai, Rulan. Qin Ruki greeted his other father and younger brother and signaled for his Lao Dai to put him down. Qin Mian hugged his eldest son, "Are you hungry?" While on the way, he had heard his youngest son talk about his experience in the restaurant, so his youngest son should not be hungry at the moment. "No, I've eaten steamed buns." Qin Ruki then told his story. Qin Mian and LIAN looked at each other with a proud smile on their faces and in their eyes. Both sons did very well. Qin Mian took his two sons by hand and said, "Let's go and buy clothes first, and then have a good meal." Lei Rulan asked with concern, "Adai, do you have money?" Qin Mian laughed, "My son, don't worry. This Adai have money no matter where I am." He thought that the 200,000 yuan cash in the magical space could only be used as waste paper, but now it came in handy. The family of four came to a large shopping mall. Qin Mian bought only one set of clothes for each of them and put them on directly, then, he bought 4 mobile phones for the family. Later, they went to the jade store and Qin Mian sold a piece of jade that was awarded by Emperor Xiaowei. Qin Mian was not sure that they would ever return to Great Xia, so he planned to complete all the family's documents, including household registration and ID cards. Qin Mian was most familiar with S City. The family flew to S City first. Qin Mian used the means of cultivation of trueness to control the staff of the Household Registration Administrative Office to fix the household registration of their family of 4. Qin Mian, Qin Rulan, and Lei Rulan were in the same household register. LIAN could only be aggrieved and had a separate household register. After that, Qin Mian and LIAN went to apply for their ID cards. After getting these certificates, the family was busy looking for a house. The house they liked was in a park community, consisting of a master bedroom, 3 secondary bedrooms, a dining room, a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and a sundry room, with a total of 200 square meters costing 26,000 yuan per square meter. In addition to buying furniture and a car, 6 million was spent. It was the 5th day when their life was completely settled. In these 5 days, Qin Mian never forgot to teach LIAN, Qin Ruki, and Lei Rulan about modern knowledge and use of modern tools and appliances, including transportation, communication and household appliances. LIAN and his son soon adapted to modern life. Qin Mian pulled LIAN into the bedroom while his 2 sons were watching TV. "Atai, let's tell Ruki and Rulan about the magical space." "Have decided?" LIAN asked. Qin Mian nodded. Now, Ruki and Rulan have a profound understanding of the differences between different worlds. They must understand how serious the consequences will be if the mysterious existence of the magical space is exposed. I believe they can keep the secret. LIAN embraced Qin Mian's shoulder and nodded, "Then tell them, and also tell them about cultivation of trueness." "All right." Qin Mian opened the door and beckoned to his 2 sons, "Sons, come here." LIAN went to the window and closed the curtains. "Adai, what's the matter?" Qin Ruki asked in puzzlement. "Take you to a place." Qin Mian held his elder son's hand, while LIAN held the youngest son's. The next second, 4 people appeared in the magical space. Learning of the existence of the magical space and the circumstances of their birth, Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan were suddenly enlightened and all the previous questions had been answered. The brothers soon figured out why their 2 fathers had concealed the magical space from them. With the principle of one's only crime was only to carry a jade, they understood it all. Adai and Lao Dai can rest assured that Didi and I will not tell anyone about the magical space. Qin Ruki said. Lei Rulan repeatedly nodded, "This is our family's secret." LIAN told them that the martial arts they usually practice was not the art of building one's strength through internal qi but was actually cultivation of Dao. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan looked at the 2 fathers with admiration. It turned out that their 2 fathers were more amazing than they realized. The 2 boys had a natural love for the magical space. Qin Mian and Lei Tie accompanied them to play in the magical space for 3 days. End chapter.